Um, all right, so I wanted to talk to a few college football things before we get out of here. So I watched unfortunately, I watched the Penn State Ohio State game yesterday. Let me tell you something.
I don't know why you didn't
I
turn
know
it
everyone's
off.
gonna. I know. Good lord. Well, I kept changing it to the Central Florida Oklahoma game because that game was actually good and kind of exciting. Um, but I mean, and then I'm hearing, just everything after the game. It's just we're going to give credit to these teams. Oh man, the defense! Wow, the defense was really amazing. I mean, come on, guys, that wasn't great defense. That was shitty offense. Okay, Penn State couldn't get a first down. They didn't trust their quarterback to throw the ball 5 feet. Okay, every drive was we're going to run on first down, run on second down. We'll get to third and long, and then we'll ask our quarterback, who's in his first year starting, to figure it out. And it's like, yeah, do Ohio State and Penn State have talented players on defense? Yes, they do. Absolutely. And no disagreement there. But I watched that game and I thought, my God, is Michigan gonna make the playoff and we're still gonna be like, God, I don't know if they're good. I don't know how good they are. Because if either of those teams play like that against Michigan, I'll tell you this for sure. Michigan will destroy them. Like will have no chance if they play Michigan like that. And Ohio State went to Notre Dame and couldn't score. Like they had 10 points until the last drive of the game. And we've seen now Notre Dame's not a great team. If you struggled scoring against them, I don't know what to tell you. So you could tell me, oh well, and listen, I understand, but we got basically a month left of the college football regular season. So if you're going to tell me that Ohio State and Penn State are going to get significantly better in the next month, okay, I don't disagree with that because they have a lot of young players and the quarterback's young, and you know that might happen. They might get better, you know, over the next 3-4 weeks. I get that, but I watched that game and I don't believe in either of those teams. It made me feel so much worse about anything that's going on. It made me feel so much worse about the Big Ten, and thank goodness the Big Ten is getting the teams from the Pac-12 next year because they need them. Like this conference is a shit show. I mean, I know, Big Ten fans are going to be mad at me and tell me, oh, what are you talking about? Blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, man, like, this is not good. Like, neither one of those teams really ran the ball very well. Like, the game came down to Ohio State had Marvin Harrison Jr. and Penn State didn't. That's it. It was just like, oh,
Right.
we'll just throw it to him. He's always open, you know? And so, yeah, I just think, um, so that's what I thought. Did you watch that game or?
No, I did not watch that game. Yeah, it was. I mean, granted, you were texting me, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think I need to watch this one. This seems like it's pretty awful. So,
So I mean, I don't know. What do you think
yeah,
about?
sure.
Do you have any thoughts on what I said or?
Hang on. What's up? Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. But it says large for me. Yeah. Oh, okay. Still there?
Yeah. So what did you have any thoughts on what I said or?
Oh, so yeah, I mean, it's kind of annoying how regional college football is. Big Ten fans, they just defend it all the time, like almost unquestioningly. And they're like, well,
Right.
Michigan's undefeated. Why can't they be number one? It's like, yeah, but they haven't beaten anybody. They played who's in front of them. It's like, well, yeah, they set their own schedule. Like, come on, guys. And yeah, I agree. They definitely need the influx of those Pac 12 schools. And then the other thing is, it's just like, some of the teams at the bottom of the Big Ten, can you guys get them out of there? I mean, because they're just, we don't need to. It's not the same as like the SEC. I mean, yeah, there's some teams more at the bottom of the SEC, but I mean, there's obviously a really, really strong commitment to trying to be as good as they can be. Whereas in the Big Ten, it's just kind of like Iowa State and Iowa, and it's like, oh God, do we really need to watch this? Nebraska. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's tougher to get players to those schools. I think that's part of it. I think there's a lot of reasons why it is the way it is. But I mean, just for an example, Iowa played Minnesota yesterday. Okay, the over under on the game was 30. 30 combined. They expected those teams to not score more than 30 points. Iowa won the game 12-10. Like, you couldn't pay me to watch that. Like, you could be playing that game in my backyard. I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to go do something else. Like, so it's just, and listen, people love those schools. I get it. You want to go to the game and have fun? Go for it. I have no problem with that. Get off of my television, though. It's fine. Just stay the hell away from my eyes. I'm not interested. Not interested at all. So, but I think, and I think it leads me to the next thing. I think that this playoff, this last year, the 14 playoff, this is going to be like, you thought people complained about the committee before. Like the first year they had the playoff when it was controversial that they put Ohio State in over TCU and Baylor. I don't know if you remember the situation, but Ohio State went out into the
yeah,
Big Ten championship game and beat Wisconsin like 59-0. And Ohio State had a really bad loss on their whatever. And TCU and Baylor had better resumes. And at the last minute, on the last day, they chose to put Ohio State in. And by the way, it was the right decision. Ohio State won the national championship. There was a lot of consternation and people upset that year. Last year, when TCU wasn't getting into the top four immediately, all the sports media was all upset about it. I said, we said on this podcast, you'll be fine. Just keep winning. Everything will be okay. They got into the playoff. The year before, Cincinnati, everybody was crying about that. Why didn't they? Blah, 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 blah. And they did get in. And they got their ass kicked. Okay? But they got in. Okay? This year, there is going to be a major conference team that has a major brand that's going to get left out of the playoff this year. Because if you look at the top 10 to 12 teams, they're all major conference teams with major brands. Texas, Oklahoma, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State. It's all of the Washington, Oregon. It's all of those teams. And what's going to happen is this is the first year where we've probably got more parity just because there's no great teams this year. We don't have Georgia's good, but they're not all world like they were the last 2 years. So we're going to have a one-loss Florida State or a one-loss Washington or a one-loss Texas or Oklahoma left out of the playoff. And so I'm going to be really fascinated because choosing between the fourth and the fifth team this year is going to be really difficult. In the past, it's always worked out. We've had 3 teams that are probably legit, and then we throw a fourth one in there that usually just gets their ass kicked because they're not anywhere near as good as the top 2 or 3 teams. That's how this has pretty much worked. This year's going to be different, Clark. So I am really fascinated because every time I hear somebody from they try to make playoff predictions and they say things that are just, oh, the Pac-12 is definitely getting a team in. They are? Because I'm watching the Pac-12, and as I said before the season, nobody's making it through the Pac-12 undefeated. It's not going to happen. Washington almost lost to Arizona State last night. The conference is there's too many teams that are there's too many teams that are competitive, that are close enough to each other. And that's not to say the Pac-12 is the best conference. I don't know that, so I'm not going to make that claim. What I will say is there's more like teams in that conference than any other one. So there's much better chance that all of them are going to lose at least one game. Florida State looks like the best bet from the ACC, and if they go undefeated in the ACC, they're probably going to get in. But if we have, like, you just look at it like this. Now, listen, these teams will lose, so I don't want to be dramatic about this. But I don't think it's crazy to think Georgia goes undefeated, Michigan goes undefeated, Florida State goes undefeated. That's 3. And then you're debating between one-loss Texas and Oklahoma and a one-loss Pac-12 team. And whoever gets left out of that is going to go apeshit. So I'm really fascinated to see how this goes. People are going to now, granted, we're going to a 12-team playoff, so that fixes part of it right there. Like everyone complaining about it, part of the satiation of it will be to say, well, we got a 12-team playoff next year. But anyway, yeah. So with all of that, Clark, so what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good read on the situation. And we go through this every year where people are like, well, what if all these teams go undefeated? They're not going to all go undefeated, you know.
No,
And yeah, I mean, the Pac 12, I mean, it's down to, I mean, really now it's USC's out. So it's down to
they're
Oregon
well.
and
Hold
or
on.
Washington.
Well, hold on though. They're out of the playoff probably, but they're not out of the conference.
Well, right.
So
Yeah.
a team like USC could ruin the whole thing by winning the Pac 12. I don't think they will because I just don't think they're good enough. But, and by the way, you're talking about two lost teams. LSU can play their way right into being a problem. They play Alabama in
Yeah.
2 weeks. They would play Georgia if they go to the SEC championship game. So go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, in the Pac-12, I mean, it's obviously Washington has got pole position, and then Oregon's behind them because they lost to them. So, yeah, but I mean, so Washington's still got to play what? They got to play USC, and they got to
They play USC,
play,
Oregon State, Washington State, teams that are capable of beating them.
yeah, and
And
then
and
plus
if
you
they
got the
get the, and if
Pac-12
they
champion.
even if they exactly Pac-12 championship game.
Yeah, so well, I mean, and here's the thing, yeah, someone's going to be really pissed off. That's why I kind of like the 14th playoff because I think that's great for the sport to have one team like, oh, we got screwed, and then some other team gets in over them, and there's controversy, and we can argue about it, and that was the fun of college football, and that's basically going to go away after this year. So
I don't think it's going to go away. The conversation's just going to change. It's not going to go away. There's still going to be a debate about it. And the thing is, like, everyone gets caught up in this. Well, what's the best? They have the best conference and they're not the best conference. I've never given a rat's ass who has the best conference. I don't understand why we, and it's like you said about regionalized. Not only is it regional, Clark, it's tribal. So it turns into this, for some reason, like Auburn hates Mississippi State. But when it comes to the playoff, they're all together in the SEC, right? Oh, we're way better than you. It means more. So every conference tries that nonsense to try to say we're the best. But I just think the committee is going to have a really, really tough job this year. And I'm fascinated. I'm really fascinated to see what happens. Um, but real
right,
two things. USC lost to Utah. That was a hell of a game. Utah beat them on a last second field goal. They've beaten USC 4 times in a row. And USC continues to be a fraud. So, but I think everyone's out on them now. They've all figured out, oh, this is what this team is. But what I want to say about them is, okay, guys, Caleb Williams lost a game. Yeah, he actually played pretty well. He didn't play badly. They didn't win the game because the other team was better. But that doesn't mean like just because they're losing games and then Drake May for North Carolina, they lost to Virginia last night. Guys, that doesn't mean that these guys aren't going to be really good prospects. Like, okay, they lost a game in college. People lose games. Like, it's not unless you're on the best team, you're going to lose some games. It's not that big a deal. Caleb Williams is still a great prospect. Like, all this stuff about, well, I want to be part owner and whatever. And like, don't pay any attention to that nonsense. When he goes to the combine and these NFL teams watch his tape and they see what he can do in person, he's going to wow them. So don't worry about any of these quarterbacks; they'll be just fine.
right. Yeah, I think I would agree with that. Yeah, I don't think I have any other college football stuff.